All right, let's make the view for our tic-tac-toe game. All right, so what are we given for a specification here, right? So we want to build it to kind of match. So what we notice is that tic-tac-toe, of course, is going to be played on a 3x3 table. It's centered in both directions, so the center of the screen is pretty much right here. We have some kind of a margin around the whole thing. Right, we notice that above this we have a game state, right? So you know, everything else is sort of defined relative to the tic-tac-toe board itself. It has a game state above, and it has a new game button below. This guy is going to be above and centered, 24 point. It has some various values here, so it starts off saying that it's X's turn, but of course it could be Y's turn, and it could be, you know, displaying who wins, or saying that there's a tie. All right. The button we said is below, but instead of being centered, that's going to be right aligned. So you'll see that that's kind of just cruising right up here. And we do this time we have red background and gray text right here. So a couple things to note. So one is that we do have things that are defined in relation to each other. So we're going to be using a relative layout for more of the power that it's good for. And the second thing is that a table layout will be the right thing for the buttons right here. And honestly, I think given enough time, you could figure this out. But let's go ahead and start together. Right? So where do we want to start? Generally, if, again, we think about our resources, we think about strings and colors, might as well set those up right now. So I'll give you the strings, but not anything that's rocket science here, but we're going to add ones in for the new game, and then the turns, so basically our 5 different game states right here. All right, so we'll be typing these guys in, and then oh, sorry, so new game is not a game state, that's for the button, and the other 5 are game states. And then one for a space as well. All right, let's go to Eclipse and do it. All right, so I'm going into my strings. So I have here my app name. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this guy. So our first one is going to be X turn. And this is just going to say X's turn as it shows up on the screen. And we'll copy this a few times here. So what else do we have? We have O's turn. And then we have an X wins. And then we have an O wins. I think those are the names we used. X wins, O wins, O turn. What else do we have here? So we have a tie game, right? So tie game is just going to have the value of tie game like this. Format it, and then we had that button one right there for new game. Right, so we'll say right here that this guy is just going to be new game. Or we could even use button text if we want. New game. The order of these doesn't matter. All right, looks good. Let's go ahead and do some colors. So we're going to go into layout into values. We'll right click and do new Android XML file called colors.xml and finish. And then in here we want to make colors. So I'll do the first one using the tool here. So make a new color. And we'll have one that's our background color. And the background, wow, what color is it? Well, I have it on the slide here, so let's go ahead and grab that. Because we want official Rose-Hulman red. Right, so this red right here is actually what Rose-Hulman uses in all its marketing stuff, and it's 181.957, but in hex it's going to be B50939. Okay, B50939. The background is just going to be a light gray, which we're just going to approximate with just C's. So B50939. Number sign B50939. So we'll go ahead and add that guy, save it. Might as well do the gray one right here too. So this one right here is going to be my text color, and that's just going to be $CCC. And we'll save that. We can look at these, and that's exactly what we have, right? So looks great for resources. All right, so let's start off by building the board. All right, so we want a 3x3 board. So the main idea here is that we're going to have a table layout, right? So the beginning of the layout, the end of the layout. What's inside it? Well, we have 3 rows, right? So each row, again, is going to have a beginning and end tag. And then what goes within that row? Well, we're just going to have buttons, right? So what is this going to look like here? So we're going to use the IDs to basically give the row and the column so that we can refer to them in our code. So 00 is going to be up in the upper left here. 01 is going to be on the same row. 02 is going to be on the same row in the third column. And then in the next row right here, we see we have button 10. So we're going to have 10, 11, 12, and you get the idea. For the third row, we'll have the same thing. So 20, 21, and 22. All right. So we'll have that table layout, and then the text view and the button are going to be defined relative to this table layout. All right. So that's our overall idea. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. Back in our layout, we never get rid of the frame layout, so let's go ahead and delete that guy. And go to graphical layout here, and let's go ahead and drag in a relative layout because the table layout is going to be part of the relative layout. So drag that guy here, and then within it we want a table layout. So let's find that. So here we have the table layout. I'm going to drag it in, and I'm going to center it horizontally and vertically. So go ahead and click that guy. It's going to look good. And then we see that within the relative layout, we have a table layout, and it's going to give us 4 rows by default. So let's go ahead and clean that up a bit and see what we got. All right, so starts off wrapping its content and centered, and we have all the different the table rows themselves here. So what I'm thinking is that the table rows themselves don't need IDs. I'm not going to be referring to them by row. So I'm going to delete those, but actually the table layout itself does need an ID. So I'm going to just move one of these guys up here, and we'll say that this is the ID for the table layout. While I'm mentioning it here, so IDs, you notice I'll start off with it with an ID. So the @ symbol just kind of like @string, right? So letting us know that it's a resource. The plus means create it if it doesn't yet exist, right? So we're just always going to use that in this class. All right, so let's clean up the other table rows. In fact, what I'm going to do is keep one table row and delete the other 3. All right, so we can see the structure here. But let's go ahead and within the table rows, we're gonna stick in some buttons. I wonder if we can do that using the graphical editor right here. It might be kind of hard to place it. If I drag in a button, I'm going to try to put it on top of there. Let's see what it did. Well, yeah, pretty good. It actually stuck it inside that first row. All right, so very good. So this guy right here is going to be my upper left-hand button, 00. And layout width and height are going to be wrap content. I think that'll be okay for now. And text is actually going to be, I want it to start off just as a space, just as nothing there. So string, oops, forgot to put the space one. All right, so let's go back and fix that. So strings.xml, make one more here. All right, so the name is just going to be space, and then just put, whoops, one, feisty today, space. Wow, that's really weird. It does not want to put a space in here. There we go. Save it. All right, so go back here and pick up where we left off. So right at the end of the string, control space, and now it should find the space. All right, very good. And let's see what that looks like. We should have one button there. All right, looks great. What else can we do? Let's duplicate it here. So I have one button. I'm going to copy it. Paste, reformat, and then renumber these guys. So this is going to be button 01, button 02. Save it and take a look at the layout. We'll see that now we have 3 here. I'm going to want to stretch those out. We'll see how to do that in a minute. But let's finish doing this guy. So I have one big table row with 3 buttons in it. I'm going to take the whole table row, copy it, and then give us some room, and then paste it once for the second row, paste it again for the third row, and then go back and just change the IDs, right? So here's my second row. So these guys are going to be, like we said, 1 0, 1 1, 1 2, and then same thing for the end, 2 0, 2 1, and 2 2. All right, and we'll format that guy, save it, take a look at it. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I guess while we're here, we can take care of some things like the background color. So you remember how to do that? All right, so inside the layout itself. All right, so let's think about the tag here. So Android : and it's going to be background whenever you want to set the background of view. So background equals, and we want our predefined color. So color, and then again, we've got one for background color. All right, very nice. Let's see what it's complaining here. It says that the table layout or its relative layout parent is possibly useless. Transfer one to the other. Kind of interesting. So they're saying that since relative layout has only one child, just this table layout here, technically you don't need both. But we're going to be adding in the other things in a minute. So it actually isn't useless. The complaint on these guys is saying something about borderless buttons, but I think we're fine with what we have. I'm not going to worry about that. All right, so let's go back to our slides. See what we got going on. Kind of catch them up here. All right, so this whole idea of the table layout with some rows in it. A few things that we need to do. Right, so we're set so far, but we want to stretch the columns here, right? So you can imagine a layout in which you wanted to have some columns bigger than others, sort of to take up all the rest of the space. So Android lets you do that. So we could say stretch columns and then give which columns we care about. But what we're going to do is we want all of them stretched equally. So we're going to give a wildcard in here, which is going to be the asterisk. And we want to keep a margin. So we're going to put a layout margin of 20 dps around the whole thing. All right, so let's do that. We could do that within the table layout itself. If you wanted to do that here, stretch columns and put in a star. You could even do the margins here if we want to find them. So let's see. So let's see if I put it in the right place. So that's for the table layout. Very good. And layout parameters. One of those should be the margins. So go in here, margins, and the margin. We'll make something like 20 dp. So go ahead and save that. See where that put us. All right. And table layout. It's going to be stretching the columns. Though I don't see the 20 dp. Did I accept that? Let's go back here. Yes. All right. So save. Back here. There it is. Layout margin 20 dp. All right. And if I look in my screen, it's given us a little bit more of a border around this. Good so far. All right, so let's go ahead and put in the other things that we have. All right. Next will be our text view above. So let's grab a text view and drag that in. We want to center it horizontally, put it above the table layout with some kind of a margin. Doesn't so much matter exactly what it is. Let's change some of the properties here. Again, you could use the property editor or you could do the other. All right, now you'll notice that table layout has an ID just of table layout. So I dragged in after this guy, dragged in the text view, and we see that it is above the table layout. Again, we're using a relative layout, so the locations of things are going to be defined relative to other things in the order that they go. So notice I couldn't just grab text view, and I couldn't put it above the table layout. Right? This should very much be an error right now. In fact, it even says, yeah, there's an error in the XML file. Right? Wish it gave us more information. But that's a problem, right? Because it's defined relative to table layout that doesn't exist. So we need to put it below. You'll notice that the IDs are what it used to link together. So we also have to give everything in a relative layout. We want it to have an ID. Now, technically, if nothing is defined in terms of the text view, we don't need this one. It's only the sort of the ones that you're building off of, right? So relative to the table layout better have an ID. All right, so I got this text view here. I could be a little bit more descriptive. I could say that this is my game state text view, but again, it's the only one on my screen. What do I want to do with this guy? So I wanted 24-point bold. So let's go ahead and make our text size be 24 pixels. Do you remember what we use for text size? Remember, not DP. It's going to be SP for scalable pixels. All right. And again, that takes font preferences into account. And then I want to change the text style. Oops, text style here. And if you want, want to make this bold, Control Space will give us our options. We could do italic if we wanted to. Let's take a look at it. All right, so make this guy a little bit bigger so we can see what's going on. Not going to give us much more real estate here. It's just a small screen. Okay, so we've got our text view here. Let's also change the color of it. All right, so that we use our nice text color is going to be color text, and that was going to be kind of that light gray color. All right, looks good. And the text that's in it, let's set up so that it's a string, and we'll have it start off with X's turn. So X is always going to go first in our games here. All right, very good. The last thing we need is our button. So we could define it, sort of just start typing here, but I find that it saves us some typing if we grab a button, put it down here, and pretty much put it where we want it. So it says that it's aligned right and that it's below, and of course the XML is gonna show us that. So I'm gonna go down to the bottom here. So button says button 1. Let's make this new game button. For IDs, doesn't matter whether you use camel case or whether you use underscores here, not a big deal. Turns out that the XML files have to be lowercase and underscores. You can't have camel case in the file names for XML, but for the other stuff, it's pretty loose. Okay, so it's going to wrap here. Align right looks good, and below looks good. Let's see. So margin, yeah, some margin there is okay, and the text. Let's go ahead and have it be the new game. We'll go back and look at it, and it looks pretty decent. So X's turn, we've got some buttons. If we were going to run this in our emulator, we'd see that it's going to do absolutely nothing, but that's for next time. All right, so see you later.